My wife stole our daughter's college fund to fuel her shopping addiction. Now, I'm left struggling to repair the damage without destroying our family's trust. I've been with my wife Andrea 48F and my stepdaughter Cassie 17F for 8 years now. I love them both to death, but Cassie is a very brilliant young woman. Recognizing her potential, me and Andrea decided to put together a college fund for Cassie so she wouldn't be crushed by debt. Over the years, it has amounted to over $200,000. Cassie is aware of this and is banking on it since she's trying to get into the Ivy League. To make a long story short, last week, I found out that almost $170,000 of the money was missing from the account. I freaked the fuck out and asked Andrea if she knew anything about it. She teared up and said that she had been spending the money over the years to fund her spending habit. I was furious, but I had a moment of clarity. I browsed these subs enough to know that an affair was possible, so I asked her if she was having one. She adamantly denied it and offered any proof I needed. Social media accounts, emails, her work phone, everything. She offered to show me the receipts as well. There was nothing that popped out as suspicious, and the math from the receipts added up as well, so I let it go. But we still had the major problem of the money being gone. She described herself as a shopping addict, and the money from Cassie's account was just too tempting not to use. She didn't make excuses, but offered no solutions. As stated before, I was beyond furious. She ruined Cassie's chances at going to college debt-free and has changed the trajectory of her whole life. I had asked her to stay with her sister while I tried to figure this out. Cassie was concerned about why she was leaving, but we just said we needed a little bit of space. I asked Andrea to come back home yesterday and we had an extremely long discussion about how to handle this. She stopped me from talking and asked a favor of me. She asked if I could take the fall for her. For context, her and Cassie don't get along for a variety of reasons, and knowing how independent Cassie is, she will probably leave right after college if not during. In fact, me and Cassie get along very well and she comes to me for a lot of her issues. Andrea fears this will permanently drive Cassie away and she doesn't want to lose her. I told her that before we even talk about that, she needed to acknowledge her mistake and own it. She needed to go to individual therapy, we needed couples counseling, she needed to find a shopaholic support group, and that I would be controlling the finances from now on. She said those terms were steep but fair. I said she needed to tell Cassie what she did, apologize, and hope for the best. She refused and said she could never lose Cassie. She said I could survive the mistake, but she couldn't. I told her that in order to even consider me taking the fall, she needs to agree to my terms. I don't know what the hell to do. The last thing I want to do is lie to Cassie, but I don't want Andrea and Cassie to split up forever. And the worst part about this whole thing is that Cassie's life is ruined either way, and I don't know how to replenish the money other than maybe borrowing from my 401k. Reddit, do you have any suggestions? Divorce is always an option, but I love Andrea despite her mistakes, and me dating at age 52 is next to impossible. Edit. After everyone in here knocked some sense into me, I realized I can't lie to Cassie. I love her too much and she deserves the absolute truth, no matter how ugly and hard it is. I will be talking to Andrea and telling her that we need to tell her the truth together as a condition of us staying together, or else I will initiate divorce proceedings and tell Cassie anyway. Also, as someone suggested, I don't need her trying to flip the script on me, so I'll record our interactions going forward. Thanks. Edit 2. I want to thank everyone here for really opening my eyes yesterday. You're all right. I need to put Cassie first, and like I said, I'll be telling the absolute truth. Even if she gets mad at me and disowns me, at least I'll know I did the right thing. In addition, I'm going to pay for her college myself. I can pull money from a couple of places such as my retirement and inheritance, so it'll be okay. If I have to live a little frugally during retirement and work a few extra years, then so be it. Cassie is worth it. I honestly doubt her is going to sell her stuff, so that's why I'm taking this route. As for Andrea, I've been criticized for wanting to let Andrea off the hook, so to speak, but it's easy to say when really deep feelings aren't involved. That being said, I don't think I can stay with her. What she did is horrendous and she ruined our daughter's future for her addiction. We had a long discussion late last night and I threatened divorce unless she told Cassie the truth. She begged me not to do this, but I put my foot down and eventually she agreed, but only if I agreed not to divorce and I helped to repair their relationship. I likely won't be doing either. She made her bed so she can sleep in it. Update, I want to start this by thanking everyone who replied to me in the original post. You all showed me tough love and I appreciate that. I even appreciate those who were calling me a doormat because, like I said in the previous post, it woke me up. I won't be staying with Andrea. She's lied and manipulated me and Cassie for far too long for me to stay with her. The fact that she stole from me, Cassie, and Cassie's grandparents makes this as close to unforgivable as it gets. The most wronged party here is Cassie. She has an amazing future ahead of her and I refuse to let her future go to waste because my wife made such selfish choices. Also, I'd like to take the time to answer some common questions, some of which I answered in the original post, but I'll post again here so everyone can see it. Over half the money in the account came from Cassie's grandparents, aka Andrea's parents, Cassie's bio dad's parents, and my parents, whom she also calls grandparents. This money came in the beginning, which is why I knew how much was supposed to be in there. I never handled the account. Although I claim Cassie as my daughter, she is only my stepdaughter officially. As such, her mother handles all financial matters related to her. I simply gave her money to put in the account and she showed me probably doctored statements. My belief is that she pocketed the cash whenever I gave her money. I did notice all the stuff she was buying. She claimed that they were either on sale or because she got a work bonus. She makes a very good living and I thought was responsible with money, so I said alright. I did ask her why she needed so many Christian Louboutin shoes. She shrugged it off, and although people can't wrap their heads around it, it's very easy to spend $170,000. A large chunk of the money went to buy a Mercedes, which I thought was a lease. She had a 7-year-old Lexus that, according to her friends were laughing at. Keeping up appearances for her wealthy friends is very important to her. Cassie and Andrea do not get along for a variety of reasons. Allegedly, Cassie takes a lot after her deceased father and Andrea can't relate to her at all, or maybe doesn't try hard enough. Cassie much prefers me to talk to. We have parent/child boundaries, but Cassie considers me one of her best friends, or words, not mine. I realized taking the fall was her manipulating me. Plus it would have opened me up to a crap ton of consequences that I don't need to deal with. Plus honesty is always the best policy. I wasn't thinking properly in my last post, and was afraid to be alone and single. I guess I have some issues being alone that I need to address. Plus I really do love Andrea. We connect in a very deep way, but I'm still divorcing her. Oddly enough, a comment that senior homes have chlamydia outbreaks for me laughing and made me realize that I could date again at this age. Plus you guys gave me some very nice compliments, so thank you for those. After my final update on the original post, I talked to Andrea deep into the night. She went back and forth with me on admitting to Cassie what she did. She said that she or even both of us could get loans and take care of the money then. I said she had a problem and she needed to make amends, which was a talking point from here. When I threatened her with divorce, she agreed to tell her so long as I don't divorce her. I guess she's afraid of losing everything. That afternoon we sat Cassie down and told her the facts. She thought we were just kidding at first, but when she realized we weren't kidding, she got extremely upset. I'll spare you the details, but she and Andrea got into an extremely loud and vicious shouting match. Cassie called her some truly awful names and Andrea, while she didn't curse at her, tried to defend herself but started getting angry at the names she was being called. They were so loud, the neighbors called the police. I had to awkwardly explain the situation to them while hoping they didn't think I was some kind of wife beater. Cassie told Andrea that she never wanted to speak to her again, and that she never wanted a dime of her money, and stormed off. I asked Andrea at this point to stay with her sister indefinitely while we give Cassie and me some space. She didn't want to go, she fought me to stay, but I told her me and Cassie needed time apart from her. So she packed her stuff and went to her sister's house. As for Cassie, she went to her room and locked the door. She let me in after I told her that her mother had left. She cried in my arms and expressed that her future was now ruined. I told her it wasn't, that I would cover her college from my retirement, and that I would make it right. She doesn't exactly know what a 401k is yet, but she told me that she doesn't want me to work until I'm 90 like the people at Walmart just because of her. I just told her she's worth it, and that you do stupid things for the people you love. She said that she would start looking for scholarships and maybe other schools where she could get a full ride since she has excellent grades and extracurriculars. I then admitted Andrea wanted me to take the fall for her and that I had considered it, but I came to my senses. She got upset with me and told me that would have been the stupidest thing I could have done. She said she wouldn't have believed I did it anyway, and it only would have made her more upset at her mother. She told me that she doesn't blame me and that she's not mad at me for the money being gone, but she is mad that I'd want to cover for her mother. I apologized for that. We talked and cuddled for a while longer before calling it a night. The next morning, I get a call from Andrea's parents asking if the story was true. Cassie had told them the story and they were calling to confirm. I had the voice recordings and bank statement to prove it. They were livid, but begged me not to leave Andrea for this, and to try and help her through her addiction. I told them I wasn't sure about that yet and hung up. A while later my parents called and asked me about it. I confirmed. They were probably more mad than Cassie was, all things considered. They're threatening to press charges. I told them to calm down and that I would handle it. Cassie is doing okay. She's still a little shell-shocked, but she seems to be taking it as well as one could hope for. I made her pancakes this morning and that seemed to brighten her mood a bit. I asked her if she wants to do therapy. She said she'll think about it. I will be doing therapy for myself. Andrea has been calling to talk, but I'm just letting it ring, so she's leaving voicemail. She's offering anything to make it right. Money, sex, favors, you name it. But it's not going to work. I feel horrible for Cassie, and especially so close to Christmas. I think I'm going to get her Billie Eilish tickets since that's her god. It won't make up for it at all, but it could go a long way to helping her feel better. So that's it for now. I guess I'll update if anything further happens, but I think this is pretty much it. Thanks all, you've been a tremendous help. Edit, I forgot to add, I watch my credit like a hawk, so there was nothing suspicious there. But it's going to locked. I'll be going to my accountant next week to have Andrea removed from everything meaningful. Life insurance, will, bank accounts, etc. And I'll be adding Cassie. I've started changing passwords and the like so Andrea doesn't have access. I'm stringing Andrea along with non-divorce until my accounts are secure. Also, from what I can tell, Cassie's credit is okay, but I'll be doing a deep scan and locking that as well. Edit 2, fixed a line where I mixed up the names. Edit 3, I can't believe I have to say this, but there's a few people saying it's creepy that I'm cuddling with my daughter. If sitting together with her crying on my shoulder and us talking is considered creepy, then sure, I'm creepy. Leave it to the internet to make things weird, I guess. And no, I don't think I'm some hero, I'm just trying to do the right thing. Edit 4, I'm sorry for the comment about Walmart workers. Cassie or me didn't mean to offend or look down on people who work at Walmart. Hell, I worked at a supermarket in college. But still, we said it, and we do wholeheartedly apologize. Update 2, it's been a long time since I've been here. A lot has happened, and truth be told I haven't had the time to post an update here, but I finally have a quiet moment to give you an update. First, I want to thank everyone here for helping me at such a pivotal time in my life. After rereading my original threads, I can't believe how indecisive and weak I came off in them. The prospect of my marriage ending and dying alone really kind of shook me to my core, and thus made me come off that way. I started therapy and it made me realize that being single wasn't the worst thing that could happen to me. In fact, I've turned my loneliness into solitude and have taken the time to work on myself. And if that last sentence didn't tip you off, then let me be the first to tell you that I'm single now. Me and Andrea are legally separated and currently in divorce mediation. Unfortunately, Andrea is still very much in denial and is trying everything she can to get me back, including delaying the divorce as much as possible so that we can work on our marriage. She claims that she's begun seeing a therapist who's helped her see the problem she has and has gotten her on the path to recovery. I don't know if I buy it, but I told her it's a good thing if it's true. She has also apologized to my parents, hers and her late husband's parents, for what she's done and offered to pay back the money. They've all forgiven her, but are keeping her at an arm's length. She's been desperate to reconnect with Cassie, but Cassie has kept her word and decided to never speak to her mother again, or at least until she's ready to. Andrea's wealthy friends she was so desperate to impress have been around our house offering their help. They may be nosy busybodies, but they were very nice to me and Cassie in the immediate aftermath of Andrea's betrayal. They offered everything from a shoulder to cry on, to baked goods to spa dates. I only ever really took them up on the baked goods because I will never turn down homemade lemon bars and oatmeal raisin cookies. Cassie did take them up on spa dates, so there's that. One woman in particular, Susan, has been around more often than the others. While I feel like the other friends were prying for information, she seemed more genuine and just there to help me and Cassie heal. She cooked meals for us, helped around the house, and just spent a lot of quality time with me in particular. We didn't ask, want, or need her to do any of this for us, but she did it out of kindness of her heart and I really appreciate it. We've gotten a lot closer in such a short time, and I truly consider her a friend. It's actually amazing I could get along with someone who's so much younger than me, 14 years. Usually I have a hard time connecting with younger people, even if they're adults. But now we get to the most important part of this update. Cassie. As a cheer-up Christmas gift, I took her and one of her friends to Montreal last month to see her favorite artist Billie Eilish at this festival. She loved it, and Montreal is such a beautiful city to visit. All in all, she took the loss of her college fund pretty well. Cassie is a very hard-working person, and she put her nose to the grindstone trying to find a scholarship. Unfortunately, she missed the cutoff for most of the scholarships she could have qualified for. But the school of her choice is giving her a very generous financial aid package. In addition, she qualified for some local grants, so she got her entire first year covered. And yes, Cassie did thankfully get into her school of choice. In fact, she had many acceptance letters and full ride offers, but she had her heart set on her school of choice. In fact, I dropped her off last week. I'm extremely proud of her and I know she'll do well. I'm an empty nester now, all alone in this big house, and the silence is deafening. But Susan has been around to keep me company and I've taken up bike riding as a hobby. So all in all, things are okay, not great, but certainly better than before. And with that, I think I can put this saga to bed. The divorce will hopefully be finalized in the next few months and I can finally move on with my life. But the most important thing is that Cassie is fulfilling her dreams and potential, and I couldn't be happier about that. Friends think my girlfriend is creepy. Hi Reddit, I, 22M, started dating my girlfriend. Let's call her Alice, 21F. About 7 months ago, we met while working on a group project for one of our college classes. From the moment I met her, I felt an instant connection. She was beautiful, smart, and we shared a bunch of common interests. Long story short, we flirted for a few weeks before I finally asked her out, and we've been happily going out since. Now here comes the problem. About a month ago, my friends and I were planning to hang out, and I invited Alice. While me and Alice are from the same hometown, we met during college, and a majority of our relationship has been during the school year. While we know each other's college friends, we'd never met each other's hometown friends. I know that Alice has really bad social anxiety, so I was hesitant to invite her at first. But when I did ask, she seemed nervous but really excited. The party seemed to go really well. Alice was smiling and laughing the whole time, and even got to go on a rant about a topic she really liked. When it was over, she even told me while I was taking her home how much she liked my friends. When I asked my friends what they thought of Alice, they all said she seemed nice. All except my best friend Ruben, 22M. When I asked him, he told me that he hated her. I immediately questioned why, hoping it was them not mixing well, as I can acknowledge that Ruben and Alice are complete opposites when it comes to interests and personality. But Ruben told me he hated her because of how creepy she is, and I was better off dumping her. Now this threw me off, as I had never once considered Alice creepy. She's actually the cutest girl I'd ever met, and I've never felt more comfortable around someone as I do around her. Before I could even ask what he meant, he went off on a rant about how uncomfortable she made him and started citing stories I told him about our dates during college. Stuff like how she'd stare at me without saying anything and just enjoyed looking at me. How she'd eat the same meals whenever we went to dinner. How unjealous she was when a girl came up and flirted with me. Or about her deep knowledge of poisons and love for murder mysteries and true crime. Both of which she could talk about for hours, but neither of which she actually talked about at the party. He said that while he wrote them off before since they didn't seem to bother me, which they don't, but that after meeting her in person and seeing how weird and flighty she was, he can tell that she's a secret psycho and will end up either breaking my heart or physically hurting me. I tried to explain to him how any weirdness was probably just because she was nervous about meeting them for the first time. But he insisted that we've had friends so's have anxiety before, and it was that she was plain weird. I blew him off at first cause he sounded fucking crazy. Alice isn't perfect, but she's far from creepy. But after 2 weeks of him telling me to dump her and me getting tired of telling him to drop it, I reached out to a few of our friends to prove him wrong. But to my surprise, they all agreed that Alice was creepy. Most of them said that the way she spoke really threw them off, which is fair since Alice can be weirdly formal sometimes, but I didn't notice her doing that at the party at all, and typically it's much more funny than unsettling. Most of my friends told me it wasn't enough to break up with her since they still genuinely found her sweet and fun to be around. But I did have one other friend say it was worth breaking up over, and he was just too embarrassed to tell me at first. I have no plans of breaking up with Alice because all the stuff they're calling creepy I find cute when she does. But are they right? Is it creepy she does that stuff? Should I talk to her about it? Should I just tell my friends to fuck off and ignore their concerns? I feel bad for even questioning about this, but with all my friends agreeing, it's starting to gnawing at me. And I just need some clarification if it's actually creepy or if they're just being dramatic. Update. Wow, thank you all so much for you helpful comments and validation. I'm glad y'all agree that the stuff Alice is doing wasn't really creepy. Anyway, to get into the meat of this update. Since I posted originally, I spoke with each of my friends individually and talked to them about what they said. Pretty much all of them apologized, and some even offered to apologize to Alice herself. Which at the time I said no to, since I didn't really want them interacting with her. But we'll get back into that later. The only one who didn't apologize, as I'm sure you guessed, was Ruben. I want to address some comments suggesting that Ruben could either be attracted to me or maybe even Alice. I don't think either of those are true, as Alice is the first girlfriend Ruben has ever acted like this with, even though I've dated plenty of girls. And Alice isn't his type. He may still be attracted to her. I mean, she is fucking gorgeous, but I've known the guy since 3rd grade, and so I know he's pretty picky about the girls he's with. So I don't think it's that I think he's just a major dick. I've known Ruben literally my whole life. Since our moms were college friends and moved close to each other when we were young. With so much history, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt by just asking him to drop it, since I really didn't care if he found her creepy. I really liked her, and he'd just have to deal with it if he wanted to continue being friends. He didn't apologize or even say he was wrong, but he did agree to stop commenting on it. Which isn't perfect, but works for now as I consider if I really want to continue to be friends with him. Yesterday I met up with Alice for a casual date. It wasn't anything fancy, just a home picnic. I have really bad allergies, so we couldn't do it outside. We had some candles and our favorite foods, and we watched movies and dissected our favorite tropes. About halfway through our 3rd movie, Alice brought up Ruben since she heard about an upcoming car show/auction her dad told her about, and she remembered me saying that he loved vintage cars and suggested the 3 of us and a friend of hers who was also into cars could go together. So she could get to him better. It felt crazy that she suggested this days after mine and Ruben's fight, and it made me feel sick with how sweet she was being to such a jerk. I gave some weak excuses about how she hates car shows and doesn't have to do that, or how Ruben wouldn't be comfortable doing that. My girlfriend, being the angel she was, said she could tough through it or even just let me and Ruben go together if he wasn't comfortable with her yet, and she'd even pay for the tickets cause it was a private showing. This was the point I broke and told her everything that happened. She took it really well, just calmly listening while I rambled through my explanation, and even ended up apologizing to me about weirding out her friends. I tried to explain it wasn't her fault and she didn't need to apologize. As a lot of you suspected, she ended up telling me how she believed she was autistic, but since she hadn't gotten an official diagnosis, so she wasn't comfortable telling people. After a lot of guiltily back and forth between the two of us, she told me she didn't want me cutting off my friends since they did apologize, and didn't say anything cruel, just pointed out her neurodivergent tendencies, which aren't an insult to her. But I put my foot down that I for sure won't be bringing her around Ruben anymore and plan to distance myself from him and my other friends for the time being, which she agreed was fair. She also wants to meet up with my friends who want to apologize to her since they seem genuine in their regret. Overall, things turned out pretty well, and thank you all so much for your input.